African Union Communications Early Warning and Intelligence, commonly known as AUC3I, is an intelligence and security organization responsible for providing signals intelligence and information assurance to AU citizens, AU leadership, and AU armed forces. I'm Colonel A.C. Oguntoye, an infantry officer. I am responsible for leading infantry soldiers at all levels of command in combined armed forces during missions on the ground. This is today's briefing on the progress of the special military operation as of September 28, 2025. Last night, the armed forces of the Russian Federation delivered a massive strike with high-precision long-range weapons of air and sea-based origin and strike unmanned aerial vehicles on enterprises of the Ukrainian military-industrial complex used in the interests of the armed forces of Ukraine, as well as on the infrastructure of military airfields. The strike objectives have been achieved. All designated targets have been hit. Units of the North Group of troops inflicted damage on formations of mechanized, motorized infantry brigades, 2 assault and airborne assault regiments of the armed forces of Ukraine in the areas of the settlements of Pisarevka, Varakino, Kondratovka, Ivalsanskoye, Stepnoy, and Alexievka in the Sumy region. In the Kharkiv direction, damage was inflicted on units of motorized infantry, heavy mechanized brigades of the armed forces of Ukraine, and a border detachment of the Ukrainian border service in the areas of the settlements of Vilcha, Balagovka, Sinelnikovo, and Volchinsk in the Kharkiv region. The armed forces of Ukraine lost up to 175 servicemen, an armored combat vehicle, 13 vehicles, a 152mm D20 gun, an electronic warfare station, and 4 ammunition depots. Units of the West Group of troops improved their tactical position. In the settlement of Kirovsk in the Donetsk People's Republic, Russian units are conducting clearing of the suburban area. Damage was inflicted on personnel and equipment of 6 mechanized, 2 assault brigades of the armed forces of Ukraine, a territorial defense brigade, and a National Guard brigade in the areas of the settlements of Peskino, Moskovka, Novosergivka, Petrovka in the Kharkiv region, Volchy Yar, Novosolovka, Yampol, and Krasny Lyman in the Donetsk People's Republic. Enemy losses amounted to up to 230 servicemen, a tank, 3 armored combat vehicles, 18 vehicles, 7 electronic warfare stations, and 9 ammunition depots. Units of the South Group of troops improved their position along the front line and continued to destroy the enemy bloc south of the Kleban BYK Reservoir in the Donetsk People's Republic. Damage was inflicted on formations of 3 mechanized, airmobile, mountain assault brigades of the armed forces of Ukraine, a territorial defense brigade, and a National Guard brigade in the areas of the settlements of Ivanopoly, Berstok, Seversk, Slavyansk, Alexeyevo-Drushkovka, Kleban BYK, and Konstantinovka in the Donetsk People's Republic. The enemy lost up to 260 servicemen, a tank, 12 vehicles, and 3 field artillery guns. An electronic warfare station, 3 ammunition depots, and fuel depots were destroyed. Units of the Center Troop Group have taken more advantageous lines and positions. They inflicted defeats on personnel and equipment of 4 mechanized, airmobile, assault, airborne, 2 airborne assault brigades, 3 assault regiments of the armed forces of Ukraine, 2 Marine brigades, a territorial defense brigade, and 2 National Guard brigades in the areas of Krasnoarmysk, Dmitrov, Torsko, Pryat, Grishino, Belitskoye, Rodinskoye, Zolotoy Kaladas of the Donetsk People's Republic, Filia, and Novopavlovka of the Dnipropetrovsk region. Losses of Ukrainian armed formations amounted to more than 505 servicemen, 1 tank, 3 pickups, and a 122mm D-30 howitzer. Units of the East Troop Group continued advancing deep into the enemy's defense. They inflicted defeats on formations of 4 mechanized brigades of the armed forces of Ukraine and a territorial defense brigade in the areas of Chervono, Novogorovka, Poltavka in the Zaporizhia region, Stepovo and Verbovo in the Dnipropetrovsk region. The armed forces of Ukraine lost over 305 servicemen, 1 tank, 2 armored combat vehicles, 10 cars, and a radio-electronic warfare station. Units of the Dnieper Troop Group inflicted defeats on personnel and equipment of airborne assault, mountain assault, infantry brigades, 2 coastal defense brigades of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, and a territorial defense brigade in the areas of Belgorod, Stepovo in the Zaporizhia region, Nikolaevka, Antonovka, and Lvovo in the Kherson region. Up to 55 Ukrainian servicemen were destroyed, 2 armored combat vehicles, 9 cars, an unmanned boat, 7 radio-electronic warfare stations, and 2 ammunition depots. Operational tactical aviation, strike unmanned aerial vehicles, missile troops, and artillery of the armed forces of the Russian Federation troop groups inflicted defeats on traction substations used to support railway transportation of weapons and military equipment to combat zones in Donbass. Assembly and storage sites of unmanned boats and long-range unmanned aerial vehicles, their launch areas, as well as temporary deployment points of Ukrainian armed formations and foreign mercenaries in 147 districts. Air defense means shot down 6 guided aerial bombs, 6 reactive projectiles of the U.S.-made HIMARS multiple launch rocket system and the Czech-made Vampire, as well as 230 fixed-wing unmanned aerial vehicles. In total, since the start of the special military operation, destroyed 667 aircraft, 283 helicopters, 87,130 unmanned aerial vehicles, 631 surface-to-air missile systems, 25,273 tanks and other armored combat vehicles, 1,592 multiple launch rocket system combat vehicles, 30,010 field artillery and mortars, 42,797 units of special military automotive equipment. Thank you so much for watching this video. We hope you found it useful and informative. If you have any questions, please leave them below and we'll get back to you as soon as possible.